Another week of just crazy Fortnite storyline content has come to an end, and with a bunch of cryptic teasers in OG, and the return of a character that was done completely dirty, I can't believe I can finally say this again, but cue the music. This is genuinely one of the most badass themes I have ever heard. And yeah, the thumbnail and title and the whole video, it's not a lie. Kado Thorne could very well be coming back to the storyline. This week in OG, a bunch of little teasers that we have been getting have finally come to a conclusion. The nom sign was changed to the word moon a couple weeks ago, a howling wolf was added looking at the moon, Kado Thorne's files were re-added to Fortnite, and finally in this update, the OG Island's moon turned a blood red. But I mean, I said it in the intro, he was done dirty, he was killed. How is Kado back alive? How is he an OG, and what the hell is he doing here? Well, first of all, let's answer the question, how is he not dead? Here's the first solution, he came back to life, which can very quickly be debunked as vampires don't usually do that. Then there's another idea I had, which is that this is a version of Kado from a moment in time before he died. He's a time traveler, this is taking place in chapter 1, not chapter 4. I mean, it makes sense, but I believe there is a much better theory that solves a lot of stuff on top of Kado being alive. My general theory is that after the Big Bang, when chapter 1 was kind of rebooted or restarted, all the characters in Reality Zero were rebirthed as well. Now this isn't just a guess, it actually is based on quite a bit of proof, and I can explain all of this by another character who's been pretty prevalent in OG's storyline recently, the Visitor. In the newest Fortnite update, there was a board, like for voting for what guns are coming to the game, which has a design of the Visitor on it. Sure, you might just think cool, little reference to OG, whatever, but there's also the updated 7 logo on this voting board as well, which made people think, hold on, is the Visitor still on the OG island? But how could that be? I mean, didn't he leave the island in the rocket event? We saw it take off and make the rift in the sky. Surely the Visitor left the island then. Well, he did, but let me explain. In the Season 4 OG trailer, you can actually see that the Visitor that was setting up with the rocket was actually the skin that we received in Season 4 of Chapter 1, not Visitor Reality Unknown. You might just think this is a random choice, sure, whatever, but throughout the whole of the rest of the trailer, they were using the new Visitor skin, not the old one. So why? Well, I'm just about to explain that, and if you're excited to hear my theory, hit a like on the video and subscribe if you're enjoying this video so far. My theory is that when the Big Bang happened and reality was reset, this is our kind of OG variant of the Visitor that was created with it. He left in the rocket, he created the rift, and Visitor Reality Unknown stayed on the island and is now presumably leading a war effort, likely in preparation for the Cube invasion in Season 6. If you're still a little confused on how this would work, let me show you. Here we have Jones, Sloane, and the Visitor, all 3 characters pivotal throughout the first 4 chapters of Fortnite storyline, just traveling normally through this story, through this timeline. Then the Visitor gets chromed in chapter 3, and at the end of chapter 4, Jones goes back to chapter 1, Sloane stays in chapter 4, and the Big Bang resets the timeline, Sloane becomes irrelevant, Jones finds his way into another reality of chapter 5, characters such as Kado and the Visitor who died in the original timeline are now rebirthed, and then Jones keeps moving along onto chapter 6, he goes through season 1, season 2, season 3, and in season 3, or around about this time, the Visitor that was chromed escapes from the nothing. Then as we know, he made his way back to the chapter 1 island, presumably with very similar technology to Kado Thorne. As we know, the Visitor said Rift technology is the heart of what he does, and Kado Thorne's time machine was also run on Rift-powered batteries. So this whole theory would explain how there were 2 Visitors in the Season 4 OG trailer. It'd also explain how even though Kado Thorne died in Chapter 4 Season 4, there is now very likely to be another version of him in the OG mode. I've referred to these in quite a few videos recently, but going back to those Sloane and Jones dialogue from OG, Sloane tells Jones that she has lived multiple lifetimes.
This is the first time in countless lifetimes that I don't know what happens next. We're both heading off into the unknown. I guess this is goodbye for this me and that you. But we'll meet again. Reality's not done with us yet.
And Sloane also says, I guess this is goodbye for this me and that you, which is interesting because Hope had graffiti of Sloane in chapter 5, implying that the Sloane that Jones meets in the future will likely be the rebirth version of her from the Big Bang, not the original. So that's also really interesting. Now that we're pretty solid on that idea that the Big Bang essentially rebirthed all of our Fortnite characters, we need to know what exactly is Kado doing on the OG island. Well, I mean, in plain terms, it's pretty simple. He's stealing something, that's his whole thing. But why didn't he do this this in the original chapter 1? Is it because he just wasn't a written character yet? Well, probably yes, but I mean lore-wise, why? Well, there's one main thing that's been a heavy focus of the OG mode that wasn't there at all during chapter 1, and that is the red butterfly. If you've watched any of my previous videos this season, you'd probably know that my theory is that when the Dark Presence was mixing its energies with the Zero Shard in the spirit realm, this created the red butterfly, which was then freed onto the chapter 6 island when the debris from the Death Star hit the portal, and then this butterfly is just chilling on the island. And what's the one way that something could get from the island into the OG map? Well, Midas built a portal exactly for that. I believe this butterfly snuck through the vault portal into OG, which is why the vaults were flashing saying something is wrong. Makes even more sense now in this update because the vaults are now flashing red. So why does the Dark Presence sending its butterfly to OG affect Kado's plans? Well, I believe the Dark Presence is actually manipulating Kado Thorne, which is why it has brought him to chapter 1. Another theory of mine is that the Dark Presence is the Nothing, or at least tied to the last reality in some way. This is because of a lot of reasons, but a large one being that the designs all over what we think is the Dark Presence look exactly like the Storm King, and also because the OXR had a board with a ton of last reality related stuff. If the Nothing is manipulating Kado Thorne to steal something from OG, why exactly would it be doing this? For what purpose? Well, that's actually a really simple part of this whole thing. We saw in the Skyfire live event that the last reality liked to take stuff from our island to learn more about the players. Also a very interesting detail, they had a board that had Bunker Jonesy on it, and Kado Thorne had Bunker Jonesy in his prison. I doubt these are connected, but it's just an interesting little detail. And I think it'd just make a lot of sense if the Dark Presence is manipulating Kado Thorne to steal something from OG. He might have even had a little practice run, because I don't know if you guys would remember, but a few weeks ago the Durburger randomly went missing, something that did not happen in chapter 1 at all. And also the Nom sign is gone and obviously replaced with the Moon one. He didn't just rearrange the letters because there weren't two O's, so maybe Kado stole this, as no one has found where the Nom sign went yet. If Kado stole it, they probably never will. I saw a really interesting thing on Twitter as well. I don't know if I could find it, I'm gonna try, but people were saying, what if when the season 6 bunker under Wailing Woods opens up, because that's where the bunker is that's flashing red, what if Kado's time machine is in there? I mean, maybe he's also helping them steal more shards of the 0 point. Maybe there's one in OG. I don't know, I'm kind of just spitballing theories here, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go off, so this is when the story gets really fun. Whether you're a story guy or not, you got to admit that this is a good amount of stuff to play around with. And if Kado's teaming up with the last reality, and those boards show that the Visitor is starting a war effort against the cubes in last reality, that'd be really interesting considering the Visitor has just escaped from the Nothing, presumably, so they're butting heads yet again, and it should create for some really interesting conflict in Season 6. Who knows, there's still the possibility as well that the Kraken monster isn't even the Dark Presence, and maybe it's Kado Thorne himself. Could totally see that happening. I mean, a vampire tied to demons. There's so many possibilities here. Until then, let's keep enjoying the game. We've got Fortnite Delulu, we've got a... Man, I don't know why the hell they named it Delulu and not Party Crashes. That was so much better. But anyways, until then, let's keep enjoying the game. We've got Fortnite Delulu. We've got lots of stuff in the story. I hope you're enjoying these theory videos, and I'll see you all in the next one.